We're back with another Feature Friday. I'm your host, Trevor.
And I'm your host, Aaliyah Arab-Smith.
And we're going to get right into it.
And we're going to be featuring Ross Simmonds. And before we get into that, I wanted to also give a shout out to Shift Key Labs for their ongoing collaboration. So to get this started, Ross, thank you for coming. It's a pleasure having you.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. Let's do this. It's going to be fun.
Yeah,
100%. Pleasure to meet you, brother.
Yeah, right. We've known each other for a minute. I am thrilled to be here. This is going to be fun. I'm excited to dive in and chat with you guys. It's going to be good. I've been following on the IG and seeing what you guys are doing, and it's all love.
Thank you. So you're our third guest.
Yeah.
So we're new to this.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we're going to learn a lot from you.
Y'all going big. If I'm number 3, like, who's going to follow this? I'm just joking.
Yeah, that's a standard.
You got to talk your ish, you know.
Yeah.
You got to be cocky on here. So yeah, maybe we'll just dive right in.
Yeah,
Tell us where you're from. Tell us about your early upbringing.
Yeah. So my name is Ross Simmonds. I'm born and raised in Preston. So mom's from East, dad's from North. Spent a lot of time in both. Grew up essentially just like everybody up home, just like playing with my cousins. Huge family, Simmons boys. So spent a lot of time with a lot of folks, a lot of fam, playing ball, all that good stuff. In all that though, like I always had a passion for like technology, for computers, for games and stuff like that. And that really set a bit of a foundation for like my life and where I would go long term. I grew up around a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of folks running paving companies, a lot of folks running their own side businesses. I can remember one of my cousins having a store, Cousin Donald's. I'm not sure if you remember Cousin Donald, but like he would have this store out of his house and then people would just like show up and make money. He was making money. It was like crazy, like all kinds of that stuff. People selling ice cream on the side of the road. Foster, showed up Foster. Yeah, all that stuff. So I can just remember always being around entrepreneurs who probably didn't have their businesses registered, but they were like, they were selling stuff.
Shout out like, Simmons Paving.
Yeah, 100%. So that was my upbringing, just being around hustlers, so to speak. And I loved the fact that my grandfather didn't have to wake up and go to a job. And I can remember at a young age, just seeing the flexibility that he had to always pick us up from school whenever we needed to always be around if we needed to drive somewhere, if we needed to get picked up. And my grandmother being always home, just being able to chill and do her thing. And it was like, okay, that's a cool life. Like, I don't know how Granddad does this and how he's always around, but that's a cool life. So when I seen that, I fell in love with entrepreneurship and I was like, that's going to be my thing. So let me take you back into time again. I was probably 14 when I had my first real business. I sold do-rags out of my locker. I was at Auburn. I went across the bridge, found this little place that was like a wholesale barbershop thing, and they had all the colors of the different do-rags. Back then, I'm a little bit older than you, there was only black and white you could get at Shoppers Drug Mart. There wasn't red do-rags. There was no blue do-rags. There was no Trevs. Like, there was nothing.
Was this on Barrington?
It was, yeah. You know what I mean? Was it called Hairdresser Market or something? Yeah, we did. So I went in there, and they were selling them for $2.50. Yeah. And I was like, all right, Shoppers is selling them for like $8.99. So I was like, Mom, Dad, hook me up with an advance on my allowance for the month. So they were like, all right, here's $20. So I take this 20, I buy 10 do-rags, blah, 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 whatever, bring those back, put them in my locker, open it up. Like, who wants a do-rag? I got you $6.50 a pop. Started to sell them. I was like, I can buy poutine all week. Okay, let's double down. So then at that moment, I fell in love with entrepreneurship and business. Sold those do-rags nonstop, was able to ball out at lunchtime. And then eventually I fell in love with making money online. So I started a blog called rosssimmons.com. Was writing about fantasy football, fantasy sports, started to get all kinds of attention and people interested in what I was doing. And at that moment, I realized I was reaching people all over the world. And I was like, okay, this is crazy. I'm living in my parents' basement in Preston. I'm in overdraft. And people are like sharing my stuff all over the internet. This doesn't make sense. And I was like, if I can reach people from Preston all over the world by just writing things, and this internet thing is going to last. Yeah. So I went all in. And I kept writing about fantasy sports. I paid for 2 years of tuition at SMU. Then my marks started to tank. And my mom was like, Ross, your marks are going down. You're going to be the first person that graduates from university in my family. Like, you can't not do this. Like, you got to figure out your life. And I was like, all right, I'm going to change my blog from being about football to be about what I'm learning in school so I can actually understand this marketing thing.
I like that.
So I wrote a blog post called How to Do Marketing to Millennials. Because back then, millennials were young and hip, and everybody wanted to target us.
What year was this?
This would have been 2009, 2008.
So you were on the wave early.
Yeah. So it would have been like around then. So I wrote this blog, and I got an email from Bacardi, and they were like, Ross, we read this blog post. Can you come down to Miami and teach our team about how to do marketing to millennials? Again, I'm broke. I'm a student, like in my parents' basement. And I'm like, how is this gonna work? Is this real? Like, is this real? Like, is this happening?
Yeah.
And then they were like, yeah, this is real, blah, blah, blah. I was like, all right, cool, let's do it. I had to wear my dad's suit. It's baggy. It's got pinstripes. I show up, I do my presentation. I didn't know what was going on. But at that moment, clued in, okay, this marketing thing is gonna work if I create more content. So I went all in, kept creating content online. Since then, business just blossomed and continued to grow. I did have a stint where I worked at a local ad agency. That was a great experience to learn the game, learn the industry, make some good connections. And then when I left that gig, I started up my own company called Foundation, started a bunch of startups, have invested in a bunch of startups, have invested in like other businesses, have launched other businesses, whether it's in the e-com side, whether it's in the cleaning side, launched a lot of different things. And now I'm just continuing to grow.
So step back a little bit. So you go from do regs to university, then you do the fantasy football thing, and then you switch it to what you're learning in school to the millennials, and then Bacardi hits you up. And then you go to Miami. And was this like a revelation or like a realization?
100%.
Of like,
when I pulled out, I was like, it's real nice down here. And then I was like, all right. So I wrote a piece of content on the internet, and this big company was interested in what I had to say, and they flew me down here. So one, they're making crazy money to be able to do that. Two, what did I do that made them want me? And it was simple. It was like I created content that added value and educated people on a certain topic, and they wanted to talk. So I did that, and then I just continued to double down. So I found something that worked, found something that paid, and I was like, I'm going to keep doing this. And then I just started to diversify the ways in which I did that. So instead of just blogging, I was like, I'm going to go on Twitter at the time, and I'm going to create a bunch of valuable content as much as I can. I'm going to start creating videos when I speak at a conference, and I'm going to share that online. And by creating all of this content, my idea was simple. If I give a bunch of value to the world, I'm going to get ridiculous value back. And if I can create a ridiculous amount of great content that helps people, that inspires people, that educates people, then the world is going to reward me, and that will work out. And it's worked out. Like the hypothesis was correct.
That's so crazy. So what about the mental process of like you getting to Miami, you getting that opportunity, and then it's like, how do you not like for me, it's just like, how did you like continuously level up or take it in to be like, this is for me, this is who I am, like, because we often talk about like imposter syndrome, or we talk about like, is this for me? You know what I mean? How did you? What's the mental stuff that you went through to be like, I'm confident enough and I should be in this position? Because I find a lot of people from our community, it's hard for us to go in them spaces if we like. For one, we might not get the opportunity, but if that opportunity does come, sometimes we shy away from it. We don't even take advantage of it. So for you, like, what do you think that was within you that made you or gave you the ability to take advantage of that opportunity?
Yeah, I think it's just like a realization that life is the longest thing that you'll do. It's the most difficult thing that you will do. But it is also very important that you maximize your time while you're here. So like growing up, I've seen a lot of like people who had like ridiculous amounts of potential, ridiculous amounts of talent, just like cap themselves. And I always said to myself, there's no limits on what I can do, and I'm not going to be the person that holds myself back. So if an opportunity shows up, I'm going to view that opportunity as something that is a gift, and if I don't take that gift, then I'm leaving things on the table in this life that I was given. So for me, it's always having that mentality of like, you only have one shot. Why not have the best shot possible? And then mentally, the imposter syndrome piece, to me, everybody who is actually good at what they do, feel that. If you have ever felt imposter syndrome, it means that you are at the edge of your skill set, and that's exactly where you should be. And when you feel that moment where you're like, I don't know if I'm built for this, I don't know if I'm ready for this, that's where you should be. If you feel like I got this, you ain't pushing yourself. Like you're literally just staying the same. But the moment where you feel, oh, this is tough, this is difficult, I don't know if I can do this, good. That's the spot you want to be in. And for me, the mentality that allows me to always keep that mindset is I view business as a game. And in the game, I'm the character. All of the other things are variables within the game. I might come up against a big boss like you would in Mario or whatever game you play, and I got to overcome it. Or I think about it as it relates to relationships. Don't know if either of you ever played the game The Sims, but The Sims is an amazing game.
Life simulator.
Right, and you have the little green thing and you like build relationships with people. Same thing in life and in business. If I don't have a relationship with somebody, I think about it like a battery, and I'm like, where am I at on this relationship? I need to improve this relationship. I need to strengthen this relationship. Oh, you said no to me? That means my relationship bar wasn't there. So I need to do more things to build that trust so I can get where I want to be. So for me, I always view things as a game. And then if you play that game and you have that perspective, ego goes away. You're okay getting a no. You're okay getting a rejection. You're okay with just like having failures. You're okay with trying new things and failing publicly and letting people see, yeah, I launched this business, it was a flop, but guess what? I got something else that I'm coming back with, right? So to me, as long as you view it as a game that never ends, it's easy.
I love how you, I love how you talked about living on your edge, and living to that edge gets you to the next edge.
Right.
And then my next thing would be like, for you and for people that are in successful positions because they faced their edge and they got through it, is like, my struggle is like, how do we tap into the younger versions of us that might not have that confidence? And how do we, like, from your perspective, like, how do we kind of instill that in others? I mean, obviously this podcast and what you're saying right now, anyone that downloads this into their mind frame is going to be able to excel because of the analogies that you're giving, the game of life, and how to win.
Most people, I think, like, I've been blessed with parents who always like supported my craziness and my ideas. Not everybody is that lucky, right? Like not everybody is born into that environment. So what I encourage people to do is to build a network where you have people who are supportive of you. Because most people don't actually, they don't avoid their edge because they don't think they're good enough. They avoid their edge because they are not confident that it's the right move. And what you need as people is actually reassurance. And you need people who will tell you, I love your idea. Someone can come to me and I'm giving away my secret, and a lot of people might see this and be like, oh, shoot, was Ross lying? If somebody tells me their business idea, I'll never tell them it's a bad idea. I will never say, I hate that. So-and-so has already done that. I will never do that, because what people actually want, which is wild, is people want to feel like they have permission to do things. And when you are saying, I think that's a great idea, or if you look at someone and you're like, I think you have a ton of potential, that one conversation can be instrumental to that individual's growth. So for me, to anyone who's older, don't be a hater on these kids' ideas. Don't be a hater on their ambitions. Don't be a hater on their dreams. Like, yes, throw out ideas around paths and lessons, share all that, but never water down somebody's potential and say, yeah, I think that's too risky. Right? Like when I first made the decision to leave that agency that I joined, I had people who were like, Ross, but like, why don't you just get in the government and get a pension, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, that's a fair conversation, but I don't want to be you, but you're not hearing me. So I'm not going to engage with that. Right? So you have to surround yourself with people who are going to be accepting of your vision and push you towards it versus people who are going to try to limit you and hold you back. I think that's key.
Yeah, 100%.
And quick question off of that as well. So I know you speak to like people around you that are supporting and seeing that potential that you have within yourself, but maybe for the audience as well, what about like recognizing that potential yourself? I know for yourself, you had like the do-rag business and you realized, oh, this is really working out. And then you also had Bacardi reach out and that kind of reflection of your values and what you had to offer. But how would you describe that to
so
people?
Finding it in yourself, I think, comes from a lot of inner work. My nickname in junior high and high school was Shy Ross. So I was a super shy kid. If you took the high school or junior high me and you put them over there and they looked at this, they'd be like, no, that ain't happening.
Who that fella?
There's no way that Ross is up there. Like, I can't do that. I was super shy. I did not enjoy having conversations with people. Like, if playing basketball, if I got the ball, I was passing it because all eyes were on me at that time. Didn't want it. So for me, I had to overcome that. And overcoming that took a lot of self-work. And the self-work was simple. I had to figure out where I wanted to go. And I took a notebook, and I can remember it like it was yesterday, and I wrote down what I want to be. And when I say I wrote down what I want to be, I didn't say, oh, I want to be a CEO or blah, blah, blah. I wrote down like the things that I wanted to do and like what my life would be like. I wanted to be able to travel. I wanted to be able to do whatever I want with my calendar. Yeah. So then I took that and I said, okay, this is what I want to be, but I'm super shy. I'm thinking that I'm going to go into marketing. Let me reverse engineer and study like who are some of the best marketers. So then I looked at them and they were all good at public speaking. I was like, okay, I got to do public speaking. Yeah. So you start with like figuring out where you want to go, and then you reverse engineer and go backwards to figure out what the path is to get there. That was the key for me.
Love it.
Yeah, I was going to say like maybe let them know what reverse engineering
is.
So
reverse engineering is the idea of identifying where you want to be at some point in the future. Or if you're talking about it from a true engineering perspective, it's taking this microphone saying, I want to create a microphone. Then you take it all apart. And by taking it all apart, you're taking notes and tracking like where the screws went, where the wires went, all that stuff. And then you're reverse engineering it so you can put it back together. So for me, in my career and in my life, I look at people, and this is why I also say I don't have idols, because I think you can get like inspiration from everybody else. And I'll dive into that later. But essentially this idea is I'm going to find somebody who is ridiculously successful, and I'm going to go on their LinkedIn and I'm going to see what their first job was. And I'm going to study that, and I'm going to see like what did they do early on that gave them the ability to reach CEO? Okay, so they were a coordinator at an ad agency. Cool. That seems like a good spot for me to start. Then what did they do after that? Oh, they were an account director, but they jumped their job and they were there for 5 years. So I should spend 5 years somewhere. So you go back and you start to do the math on like how other people got to levels that you want to be at. And then you just follow their path and you learn from them. You see if they have books, you see if they have podcasts, you see if they have YouTube videos. You immerse yourself into the things that they did to get there. This approach is literally my approach to like everything that I do in life, whether it's parenting, whether it's being a husband, whether it's being a dad, like, or an entrepreneur, a speaker. I believe in reverse engineering everything so I can figure out the path, because there's nothing that you can go through in life that somebody else hasn't gone through at least once. Somewhere in the world, somebody has gone through it. And probably over time, somebody's probably written a book or written a blog post or went on a podcast and talked about the things that they went through to get through that struggle. Oftentimes we think we're these unique snowflakes who never are experiencing a problem that nobody else has. It's impossible. You know how many people are in the world? A lot of people. So that problem that you have, there's probably someone in this world that has had it. So you can go to email, you can go to their DMs, you can go to their accounts, you can go to their podcasts, you can do all of this stuff to figure out how they got over it. And that becomes your shortcut and cheat code to kind of get over it yourself.
Definitely.
And be like tapping into the experts that already been through it so you can learn from them and then apply that to your life and succeed.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. And a question for you as well would be some of the challenges you may have faced on your journey to getting where you're at. Because I know a lot of us, we see Ross and we're like, yeah, he's got all that going on for him. But like getting more of that information on what challenges you may have faced and how you've overcame them and some advice on how to approach that.
The biggest challenge was, unlike a lot of my peers who I was graduating with from university with a marketing degree, they all had these internships at big companies. They had these firms. They had uncles and aunts who could put them into these positions. And I was like, am I going to do marketing for a paving company? Like, what am I going to do? I have no way into these worlds. So I applied for every job in every ad agency in the city. I got rejected a million times. I even took one agency and I redesigned their website to have my face on it. And I sent it to them as an email. I sent them over a video. It was a killer application. Like as an employer, if I got that, I'm hiring that kid. Like I sent this to them, rejected, didn't even get a meeting. And I was like, all right, this isn't going to work. So that's when RossSimmonds.com became really, really big for me and a huge focus of my time and energy because I knew that if I could create great content, I would get more eyeballs. So I started to do that. And then I started to follow every CEO in Halifax on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and I just started to respond to them. I was like, all right, y'all aren't giving me a job. I'm not going to be the guy that just shows up at your office. Respect to those who do it, but I wasn't going to do that. So I'm just going to build relationships. I'm going to like your posts. I'm going to comment. I'm going to pretend that I am a part of this community so I can break in. And then people started to dive in my DMs and they were like, can we chat? Like, okay, what is going on? Here's a crazy story. So I couldn't get into any of these companies and Twitter just started. I don't think I've shared this ever with anyone. I created the first twitter.com/Eastlink. I created their Twitter account and I followed Eastlink CEO on Twitter. And they had this crazy outage on their network and it all shut down. And I only followed him. He sends me this DM. He's like, I don't know who you are, but I want this account. And I was like, you can have this account, but I'm not giving you access until we meet in person, blah, 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 and we have a conversation. My name's Ross. I'm this young guy, blah, blah, blah. So we meet up and we grab coffee, like professional setting. I'm throwing on my dad's suit again. I'm going to this meeting and I just blow him away with like the way that I think of social media and content. And he just loves it, eats it all up, and starts making introductions to me all throughout the network. Still to this day, we're good friends, like stayed connected. And
so the CEO of Eastlink?
CMO, they were the CMO.
Okay,
so like it was I followed CEO and CMO, and like he opened so many doors for me at that young age. And that also, like, again, it's just you just need little bits of validation. That showed me like I can run with these guys.
Yeah, you've got it.
And that was a huge moment. And then another one.
And to touch on it, like you created that opportunity for yourself.
I did.
Through like thinking a certain strategy.
I was like, Twitter's going to blow up and these companies don't have their own handles. Let me create them.
That's like a crazy execution. And like then being able to probably build rapport and connection with that guy.
Exactly.
And then he's able to plug you in with other opportunities.
I haven't thought about that in so long. But
that's just one nugget of your whole experience.
Yeah, that was one piece.
But it's like a big thing.
It was a big thing. Yeah. Another wild thing was when I was at SMU, I always tried to like, I knew that I couldn't compete with people on network. I knew I couldn't break into these rooms. So I had ridiculous chip on my shoulder to be like, I have to always kill. I always have to be like better. You know the saying, you got to be 10 times as good. I lived it. I own it and I still believe it to this day. You got to be 10 times as good to get like half of what they have. So I had that mentality. And there was this competition that the CBC threw at SMU where they were like a case competition. And they invited the whole business university to apply, and you had to like create a case study on how CBC could grow and expand and stuff like that. It was won for like 4 years in a row by MBAs. I was like, I don't care if you're an MBA, I'm going after this thing. So I go in, I do my thing, and I win it for the first time. I'm the first undergrad, probably the last undergrad to ever win it. So I win this thing, they give me a scholarship, and it comes with this internship at CBC. CBC at the time, still very early in the social media game. I helped all of the reporters get their accounts set up. I set up their Twitters. I set up their Facebook. I train all of them. I'm like 22, maybe. And I'm training all of them on social media. And you're probably thinking, how are you doing this at 22? And it's like, I don't know. I really don't know still to this day. But it was like.
Because you were ahead of the curve.
I was ahead of the curve. But I don't know where the confidence came that I could do it. I think it was just like wing it and make it.
And that's going to be a follow-up, the confidence, because that's a big thing.
And I did that, and just like they extended my contract to continue working with them. That was the most money I had made in my life at that time.
It's what's so crazy. It was crazy to even tap into that is like a lot of like because I help run DBDLI, Double My Buddy Days social media, and I tap in with a lot of teachers. But I also from the news, they're crazily on Twitter, and so are teachers. Like I find the most people that use Twitter are reporters and journalists and the news, and then teachers. So for you to tap into that early, it's like you put them on to get in that
None
position.
of them had accounts. None of them had accounts. I can remember like. I think his name's Tom Murphy, and he had a twin brother, and I set their accounts literally up and showed them how to use the channels.
Crazy. Name drop them names because they're probably big on there now. Like they got big, like I see them with big followings.
100%. 100%. Yeah, it was wild. Like I taught like Peter Code, all these guys, like how to use these channels. It was wild, and it was a short stint. But like I remember going in at the time, the CBC Atlantic's like their president. It was like their president. I went in, I gave this full presentation about social media, and the lady who I reported to, her name was Wendy Jones, and she's been, again, huge mentor and helped me like grow massively in that role. She was like, this guy's brilliant. Listen to him. And I did this presentation. I was like, oh, I crushed that. If CBC wants this and they like me, the rest of the world will like me too. And that gave me a lot of confidence to be able to say, all right, when I do go out there, I can work with any brand, any business, and just do my thing. That was it.
So would you say that the knowledge, the knowledge went to the experience and then went to the confidence of like, I know I can do this because I got the knowledge and the experience now?
The knowledge was being built while riding the plane in many ways. So like while I was doing, like I didn't know what I was doing. And I like, if I looked back at any of the things I did, I'd probably say that's trash work. But at the time, I thought it was good, and that's good enough. Or I thought I was doing my best, and that's all you got to do.
And you were getting the big, huge
and
opportunities.
they were accepting it, right? So like, it's about like just putting your best foot forward, seeing how the world responds to it, and if the world responds well, cool. If they respond poorly, fix it, figure out what's wrong, and that has happened to me. Like I gave a presentation once, and it was a flop. None of my jokes landed. It was in the UK, so the UK's culture. Canadian, American culture, completely different. They have a very dry sense of humor. So I go to the US and I'm dropping my jokes. People are going wild. I'm top speaker at every single event. Then I get asked to go over to the UK and I'm speaking at like some palace and I'm doing my thing. And no one's laughing at my jokes. And I'm like, oh, this is a bad. Like this is real bad. And then I'm done. I look at my review, the worst review I ever got for a presentation. I was like, okay. If they ever invite me back, I am going to come in and absolutely kill.
Know your audience.
It was like, that was a failure. And still to this day, it haunts me because I was like, that same presentation I gave 2 weeks before, #1 talk.
Oh, wow.
Go to UK, do the talk, and it's like, bad. And
so for that perspective, like what would you do differently if
I would have
when
researched
that opportunity comes?
Dry humor and reverse engineered probably some European English comedians, studied how they do their delivery and what the dry jokes are, and then remove all of my on-the-nose hilarious jokes that are funny to me and everybody else, but not funny to people in the UK.
Wow.
That would have been my shift.
And then, so you could probably say like, okay, from that failure, you're going to learn from that.
100%. And I have applied it. So I went to Brazil a few months ago, killed it, because I studied Brazilian culture before I went to understand, okay, they're really going to appreciate if I have my slides in Portuguese. So I went to ChatGPT and I translated my entire deck into Portuguese so they could read it. Then at the end of my video, I used AI to create a deep fake of myself. So for those who are not really sure what that means, it's essentially you can upload all of your audio files, you can upload video files of yourself, and AI can replicate yourself on the computer. So I created a deep fake of myself and I talked into the computer, or I wrote into the computer, hey conference, thank you so much for having me. Brazil, I love you all. It's been great to be here. And I got it to translate that into Portuguese. And then my mouth was speaking in Portuguese to this audience. I don't know what I said because it was all in Portuguese. So I wasn't sure if it was even going to land, but the audience went wild. They were standing up, showed it to Brazil. The culture's amazing. Best energy that I have ever seen at a conference.
Just like a soccer game.
They stand up. They're like going wild. People were like, brah. Like,
you know what I mean?
I was like, what? Okay, let's go. And it was because I had that video at the end and they just went nuts. And it was like, cool. All right. I nailed that. So the lesson was UK, I should have researched and understood the nuances, even if they're small, between that audience versus this one. And then now moving forward, I just do research before I go somewhere and make sure that I'm aligned.
So that one lesson going to add value to all of your future abroad opportunities.
Ross life lessons.
There you go. Back with another blessing. That was a blessing though, because anyone listening to this, they can learn and be like, that wasn't necessarily a failure. It was a stepping stone to what you're going to do next. And then when you do go back to the UK in a castle, you're going to be able to kill it. And they're going to be like, oh,
100%.
So true. And knowing your audience, I feel like is a big takeaway I'm getting too, especially with like public speaking and when you're delivering your message, it's also like taking into account the context of where you're presenting it. So like you said, it wasn't really a failure, but an opportunity to build on that experience. And a question I have for you, it's kind of a little further back, but it's about the networking. So it was almost like the way I'm kind of taking it, that you put yourself in that position to be able to network. And I know that there's probably like 1 million people that could relate to that position of being, let's say, outside of that little network. And you got to pierce yourself into the networking. So just maybe talking to how you did that, how you grew the confidence to put yourself in that space and then continue to build those relationships.
Yeah, great question. So on the confidence comes from just like point blank, you're just as good, right? Like no matter what, I think that's the first message I need to deliver to everybody in the like space, because the imposter syndrome is real, not just from like a Nova Scotian level, not just from like a Canadian level or in East Preston, North Preston, Sherbrooke, wherever. The imposter syndrome is all BS, because I've been all over the world and I can say with confidence that people here are just as good as the people in New York. I have conversations with people who have gone to Harvard and I'm running circles around them. I talk to people who go to Stanford and I'm running circles around them. Are some of them brighter than me? No doubt about it. Like, don't get me wrong. Some of them are beasts and they can run circles around me in a second. But we're just as good as people who literally are doing things that we could do, but we talk ourselves out of. So when you have that perspective where you recognize, all right, just because I happen to be born here doesn't mean that I am limited to the averages here. I can be more, I can be better. Everything changes.
Example of this, Ross, you made a post on Twitter about we talk ourselves out of opportunities.
Yes.
And I read that, and I was just about to talk myself out of an opportunity to not speak at Dow.
Right.
And like I did it, and I killed it, and then
of course,
it gave me more confidence. But if I had not read that tweet or read that message, I might have talked myself out of it.
Yeah, so text me anytime you're about to tell yourself you can't do something, and I'll tell you, what are you talking about?
Yes, and 100%. So it builds on, like, because when I did that, the reception made me feel good, and then it gave me that dopamine or that push to be like, okay, when I get another opportunity like that, I'm going to take it. So those stepping stones, even for myself, I learn from you, and I get pushed by you, and I find anybody that may be listening to this, all these nuggets, you need to apply it to yourself.
That's it.
And execute.
100%. Execution is the most important thing, right? Like, I always tell people, education is ridiculously important, but you do not want to be the smartest person in the grave that did nothing with anything that you learned.
So true.
Right? Like, you need to not only absorb the information, you need to act on the information. I hear so many people, oh, I read 50 books this year.
Like,
yeah, but you still make the same amount of money. You're living in the same house. You don't do nothing.
What did you do with it?
You did nothing with your knowledge. Like, it doesn't matter. Oh, great. Congratulations. You read a bunch of books.
You must have listened to College Dropout.
No,
like,
yes.
It's like, I'm going to be the smartest dead guy. It's like, I got all these degrees. Like, you know, like
100%. Yeah, like, it's important. Don't get me wrong. Education is ridiculously important, and I think it's the key to getting a lot of confidence and stuff like that. But you can also be, one, self-educated now more than ever before. And two, it's like, make sure that you apply the lessons. Like, don't go through your whole life as a consumer and not actually creating and doing things. You have to consume less than you create, in my opinion.
That's a quote I always use.
Love that.
I always tell kids, create more than you consume.
Every
if you
time.
look at your time on your phone and you spend 2 hours on TikTok, spend 2 hours creating.
And be careful what you consume. That's the other thing that I think is underrated. Like, everybody thinks, okay, I'm going to follow Shade Room. I'm going to follow all these things. It's fun. It's hilarious, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Y'all know what that does to your brain? If you follow toxic accounts, what do you think is going to happen to your brain? We talk about it all the time. Watch what you eat. Watch what you drink. We don't talk about watching what you consume. Literally, our minds are formed by the stories that we are told. And those stories have an implant in the back of our brains that inform our reality. So if you're constantly following toxic people, if you're constantly following accounts that are trying to trigger you, you don't think you're going to be depressed? You don't think you're going to be anxious?
It's like eating junk food, but for your brain.
100%. So I tell people all the time, mute anything that is toxic. And if you go to your Discover page right now on Instagram, whatever it is, I guarantee you, what you're looking at isn't necessarily what Instagram wants to give you. It's what you've told Instagram you are interested in. And if you don't like what you see when you go to that page, because it might be gossip, nonsense, foolishness, memes and jokes, and you're like, I'm not getting any value out of this type of content. All right. So start to monitor your own behavior on these accounts. Instead of liking it, instead of watching the full video, go and do a research for real estate videos and start liking all of them. And watch how it changes your Discover page. Because these channels aren't built to give you like whatever information is good for you. They give you what you demonstrate you want. And if you demonstrate you want toxicity, that's what you're going to get. So if you demonstrate that you want growth, start liking growth accounts. Unfollow the toxic people. Changes everything.
It's crazy because what you're saying is so true, and you could tell a lot about a person in the current state by looking at their algorithm. Like you could take someone's phone and look at their discovery and be like, okay, that's what they're into.
100%.
But in order to, like, sometimes we don't have the self-awareness or the awareness of what the applications are doing to us. So we don't know, like, oh, if I look at this for long enough, or if I like this, I'm going to get more of this versus like self-development posts or the stuff I'm seeing from you that's going to add value to my career and what I'm doing versus like, if you watch fight videos, you're going to see a bunch of fight videos. That's going to make you aggressive. You know what I mean? But people aren't aware of this. Like, it's crazy that like I click not interested because I know what that stuff does.
Controls the algorithm.
Yes, and vice versa. If me and someone else swap phones, it's gonna change who we are.
Exactly.
If I'm looking at their algorithm all the time, I'm gonna become aggressive.
100%.
Like girls in bikini might pop up on my thing.
Exactly.
Like it just people they're not aware of what this does to them.
No.
So true.
Zero.
It's
Like if you want to get fit, I guarantee you, if you go down the rabbit hole of following nothing but like fitness people and you unfollow all the nonsense, whether you call it guilt, whatever, you're going to consume that content. You're going to be like, man, they went to the gym again today. I'm going.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, they're talking about smoothies. I should get rid of this. Somebody's going to be on there with a reel talking about carbs and stuff, and you're going to start changing your diet. Like your brain is so
malleable.
Exactly. It's so malleable, and people don't even realize it.
I just want to mention to the audience as well is to take this as a challenge and try this out because it's really effective. And it's something worth trying because it can change your habits, it can change your mindset, and you might not even realize subconsciously the effects that some of the stuff you're consuming has on you.
100%.
Yeah, because we're not aware of how much these social media accounts own us. Like they own
do.
you, they own your emotions, they own your relationships, they own it because they're the ones pushing it to you. Like and not to get off a topic, but it's like when the George Floyd stuff happened, every single person in the Black community, that was pushed to your phone.
Yep.
You're not aware of it, but you're downloading that and you're getting outraged because they want you to be outraged. They know that this is going to benefit whatever scheme or whatever they got going on.
Yeah. In the media world, there's this line that says, if it bleeds, it leads. And what that means is if there's blood, it is the first story that is going to be on the news.
Wow.
And nothing on the news but the blues. Like, this is why. They want you to consume content because they know it hooks us. We're all good people. We want to feel empathy. We want to feel bad when somebody is hurt. And we want to hear their story and like show that we're compassionate. But if you let all of that constantly consume you, you have to remember that your brain is the exact same brain makeup as your great-great-great-great-grandfather's. You know the difference? Your great-great-great-great-grandfather didn't have constant triggers on their phone showing up into their brain.
Yeah. Trauma.
Desensitized too by seeing that stuff.
Right? Like it's a different world and we are not meant to always be triggered. We're not meant to always be consuming that. So if you can flip it on its head and say, I'm going to turn my feed into something that benefits me. I'm going to consume content about health, about wealth, about growth, about personal development, about speaking or science or learning of math, whatever it is, or parenting, whatever it is.
Because
it's
a constant reminder that the world is beautiful, the world is great.
Exactly.
And if you're looking at stuff, that negative stuff, it's a constant reminder that the world is dark, the world is this, and people don't care about you. But like, it's the 1%, like to even go on to like our community, North Preston. It's 1% of people that might pimp or sell drugs or do violent crimes, but they paint the whole community like that. 100%. So people from the outside, they view us like that.
Generalize from that as well.
100%.
Yeah, so it's wild, but it's important to be aware.
It's massively important. Like you have to be able to understand the media, so to speak, right? Like, and when I say media, it's not just the big media, it's social media, which is content and there's creators, but you just always have to think, what's the intention behind this thing? Like, what is this person's intention with the story that they're trying to tell? Yeah,
and a lot of the times they're trying to go viral because there's certain stuff that used to make us outraged. It doesn't make us outraged, so they need to ramp it up. And then it's like, okay, it's like
this one's
crazy.
working. All right, double down. Let's create more stuff like that.
And so it's like that 1% of people in our community. You paint us all with that, but it's really like every community. You got 1% of bad people in every community, 100%. And it's like.
Yeah,
you don't paint you know what I mean?
General.
It's true.
And the news is going to show you all the bad, but they're not going to show you the good.
Right, exactly. And that's it's a challenge. I think even thinking back to my early days, it was like, I wanted people to be able to see like, there's a lot of good that comes out of Preston. And it's like, the media can paint us however they want, but at the end of the day, you can't deny greatness and excellence. And when people are doing their thing, it is what it is. Like
that's why it's important for people like you to shine because it shows a different side. It shows the younger people like that are watching this. They're like, hey, I can actually do that versus like what we see. And that's kind of some of the questions I want to dive into because as a young Black male in North Preston, we're like, I can only speak for myself, but like I was inspired by like the shiny stuff, like the people with the big cars, 100%. The gold chains and the beautiful women. It's like, to us, when you're younger, you're taught that in school, like money is success.
Right.
So when you're in community and that's all you see, that success is the pimps and the dope boys. It's like, well, obviously that's what I'm going to do if I don't see any teachers, any lawyers, any people that have anything. Like we only got our homes and like, so that's what inspired us. So for me, the question is like, besides us black males, like if we're speaking to black males, it's like, how do we, without doing this stuff that we're doing, being in community, and how do we, or what's the strategy to instill and inspire that from your perspective?
Yeah. From my perspective, I try to do two things. One, I try to live a life that people can look at and be like, okay, I see Ross's path. That's an option for me. And that to me is one of the most important things that anyone can do. If you can take care of your unit, your people, your friends, your family, your kids, blah, 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 and you can be present, that's the most important thing that you can do because it sets an example on how to live. And if you do that well, my hat's off to you. And you don't have to strive to be the 1%. I just want people to say like, okay, I'm going to be me. I'm going to do me. I'm going to do it right. I'm going to do it well. And I'm going to strive for the best version of me possible. And I'm going to be amazing at showing up for all my kids' basketball games. I'm going to be amazing as being a husband. I'm going to be amazing as showing up for my job. It might be a 9-to-5. I have no hate on people who have a 9-to-5. I'm going to be great as a lawyer, as a doctor, whatever. Just live a great life. Cool. That does it because now if you do have more kids, those kids are going to see that, they're going to emulate that, and they're going to have friends that will also try to emulate that. And that can, in my opinion, just break complete cycles. And that's why I give like lots of flowers to my dad and my mom because they raised me in that. All my uncles and aunts, they've raised me in that. So I could just look at them and be like, cool, y'all don't need to make 150 grand a year, but you got the foundation. You're happy, you're taking care of your own, everybody's good, cool. I got that covered, that's the path that I want. Now on the flip side of that, we live in a new age, new era, and I believe that content shapes culture. So I try to create content that positively shapes the culture of Black people, especially in our community. I want to show up on things like this. That's why I say yes, because I want the Ross that's 19, 18 to see this and be like, cool, there's a path forward for me. And I want them to even look at me and be like, I'm going to be better. Ross is doing X mil, cool. I'm going to do X bill. Go get it. Let's go. I want that. I want to create that type of environment because here's the other piece. Oftentimes we look at what's around us and we think that's the limit. I believe you have to expand your horizons outside of the bubble that you happen to be born into and realize that there are people like Robert F. Smith, he's out of the U.S., who is one of the most successful Black private equity people in the world that nobody probably knows about, but he's balling out of control. I think he's got like $2 billion or something like that.
But isn't he one of the richest Black people in America?
Yeah, he is. I think he's number one. He's the richest Black man in America. And then there was another guy named Reginald Lewis, who my son's name is Reginald. Reginald Lewis was the first Black millionaire, and he was out of the U.S. or maybe billionaire, but he, again, just did things that you didn't think were possible. And for me, I think you have to open up your horizons to realize that the limit isn't having an Escalade. It isn't having a gold chain. Like there's really an opportunity to be able to do things way beyond that. And one of the things early on that guided a lot of me and my approach was I love experiences. I'm an experienced guy. I'm going to ball out with my car. I'm going to ball out with change. I'm an experienced guy. So if I can go and explore the world, go to Bali, go to France, go to Italy, go to Morocco, go to anywhere that I literally want to, that to me is the epitome of me being successful. So long story, a little bit longer, live the life that you want, create good content, open your eyes to possibilities outside of your own community because the pie is big. And there's a lot of wealth to be gained and go get it. Like that's really it. And then set your own standards of what excellence looks like. Like you don't need to show off for other people. I don't care if I have the nicest car or not. Like I want to be able to say, yeah, I can take my family to Italy for 2 months and not bat an eye. Success.
And I feel like it's important for us to touch on these subjects, because
Yeah.
it's like, how do you get outside? Like when you come from the community, you're coming from the stigma, and then it's like growing up, it's like you feel like this, like you feel like with the media and the way that movies portray us, it's like, this is who you are, this is what you're gonna be. So it's like the ceiling cap like is on us, but 100%. Then it's like to break out. Like I feel like it's easy for us to break out if we follow your path, if we listen to you and we listen to what you have to say. But then it's also hard for like the kids that are looking up to us now, like me and you, and be like, oh, that's not cool. Like these guys aren't, like we're not cool to them because we're not doing the stuff that the culture says we're supposed to be doing. And then for us, it's like doing this stuff is what's gonna reach them and like incept their minds so that they can be inspired and push forward. But then it's like, how do we stop the ones that are gonna end up falling through the cracks? Because you think about the people you went to school with, and I think about the people I went to school with. It's like a lot of them have fallen through the cracks either through lack of education opportunities, lack of the teachers believing in you when you're younger, because 100%. Like for me, like I probably wouldn't have went to university if it wasn't for a teacher in high school that showed that she cared and she did it for all of her students, and then it pushed me, inspired me to be like, I believe in myself. Like you were saying earlier, it's important to have people that believe in your ideas, because if you don't, then you might not pursue them. Like I might not have pursued university, and then without that, I wouldn't have I wouldn't have obtained the value of education. Then I wouldn't be able to go to community and teach kids about, here, read this book or learn this. And the reason why I am who I am is because I went to university, 100%. Because I've studied books, because I read. And it's important for people like us to be able to impact community in that way and make the, be the coolest cool.
Right.
You know?
And it's interesting. Like that's why my handle is the coolest cool, because all through high school, I wanted to be the cool guy. So I watered down all of the things that I was interested in around tech. I watered down everything that was geeky about me. I didn't show everyone, oh, I'm gaming. I didn't show anyone that. Like board games, I was designing them. Books, I was writing them at home about like all kinds of stuff. I wasn't showing everybody those signs. And that held me back a lot. So I created the handle, the coolest cool, because when I logged into social media, I wanted to remind myself that you do not need to be cool. Do not strive to be on this channel and be cool. Just try to be yourself. Just try to create value, be authentic, be yourself, and create things that are valuable, and the world will give you value back. And that's literally why my handle is the coolest cool, because I wanted to remind myself at a young age, don't make the mistake you made in high school where you watered yourself down and you were a cool kid. Don't get me wrong. I was popular, cool. But I could have did so much more if I broke out of wanting to be seen as a cool kid. And then because of that, when I stopped, everything else went up.
It's like when you stop being a tryhard and you just be yourself, then you're way more successful because you're being more authentic. Your authenticity is shining through. You're connecting with more people that are into what you're into. Like even for me, it's like when you just identify, okay, when you try so hard to not be perceived as a nerd, and you actually embrace it, like, I am actually a nerd. I think I said on one of the episodes, it's like, I'm a nerd. I like to read. I like to play games. I like 100%. To do this X, Y, Z. And it gives you permission to be yourself, and that allows you to execute, take advantage of opportunities, and plug in with people that are like-minded.
100%. I think one thing that is a caveat to all of this is be yourself, but do not be stuck as yourself in that time. Because a lot of people will say, well, I'm just shy. That's who I am. I'm going to be shy forever. Oh, I'm just the kind of guy that doesn't do numbers. Sorry, I'm not good at math. I'm not going to touch it. Oh, don't do that. Don't hold yourself to a standard because I'm just being me. No. If you're a toxic person, you don't just say, well, I'm toxic. That's my life.
And never change.
No.
You always got to be willing to grow and change, because you think about, like, if you look back to us in high school, bro, we were literally wearing size 40 pants.
I know, but they're coming back.
They're
coming back, bro. They're coming back.
Circle back.
I sent mom a note. I was like, you got my tall tees?
Up in the closet.
Oh, bro, it's definitely coming back. But it's like what you were saying is like being able to be malleable, being able to grow and not be stuck in who you think you are.
Right.
And then that takes me back to like the identity that we have as Black people. We think like, this, like, because we grew up, we consume a lot of movies and videos, 100%. And then we think this is who we are, this is how we have to react to certain situations. But then going back to the authenticity, it's like, don't find your authenticity in being these people you see on TV, like Tupac on Juice, or like these certain people, like, you want to be the hardest guy in the community. And it's like,
people don't realize, but like, if anyone can make you do something by saying something, and you're going to respond, they control you.
They control you 100%.
If the internet can control your emotions, the internet controls you.
True.
If you can walk into a restaurant and someone can say something to you and it makes you feel any type of way, they control you.
They own you.
But when you have complete control over your responses and you're actually cognitively aware of how you're going to show up in an instance, without worrying about, oh, I don't want so-and-so to think about me this way, so I'm going to forget all that noise. If you are in complete control, you should be able to be met with any circumstance, any problem, any challenge, and be in control of the response. It is very difficult. I mess up all the time.
Yeah.
Child comes down, she slaps my other child. I'm like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Y'all, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh no, I'm supposed to be a little bit calm here.
Yeah.
But like, you have to recognize it is a superpower to be able to control your reactions to instances, instances of rejection, instances of success. You have to control that. And when you do, you're just playing at a whole nother level. Yeah. So try to be cognitively aware, folks, on like how you respond to instances, whether it's good or bad, and just think like, okay, am I in control of this circumstance and how I'm responding? Or am I allowing, we're getting real geeky for a sec, or am I allowing what is called the crocodile brain, which is our default fight or flight? Am I allowing that to soar and win in this interaction? Because when you rely on that, you're operating off of human instinct instead of operating off of logical instinct. And if you can operate off of logic instead of just your default setting, you're more mindful, you're more aware. So I try, sometimes I fail, but I try to always be in control of my reactions. And sometimes people hate it because they're like, why aren't you mad? Why aren't you upset? Like, why aren't you upset? Because I'm thinking and I'm trying to evaluate my response to this. And it's like, that's where I want to be. I always want to be in that state.
It's good advice too, because I feel like I've heard this saying from Rodney. You probably heard it as well, where it's like you respond and you don't react. So a lot of times, like even for myself, I used to be and still am. I still have my moments, but so reactive to some things where I'm like, if I just sat there and thought that my control is in how I respond to the situation, that there's so much more power and so much more that can come out of it, right?
Yeah.
So
like they say, don't respond to an email while you're mad because it's going to come across in the email when you take some time to blow off the steam. And I think that's important when it comes to like someone insults you and then you react how they intentionally wanted you to react.
Exactly.
You literally own them, and then it's like you lose. Like for example, if you're in community and you're getting teased, when you react is when you lose the interaction.
Exactly.
Like, but if you don't react, they're gonna get bored. When I tease my brother, he reacts. I keep teasing him, and I win. I'm winning, and I'm getting what I want. And then when he doesn't react, it's like, no
fun.
Right, this ain't fun. You're not doing anything.
And we're conditioned. I find like as guys, like we chirp each other and we bother each other, 100%. And it makes us more resilient. So that and for coming from North Preston, bruh,
you got to take
the utter abuse that you go through. It makes it so that whatever the people do to you in town, that ain't nothing. Like that's why like we are successful and we should be successful because there's nothing that they can reject us or they can make us feel any kind of way, because like some of the stuff, like when I was in university, them kids were dissing me, saying shit to me, and it went over my head because some of the stuff I didn't even understand the joke. And for me to respond to it, it would be like, bro, I don't know what you're saying anyway.
I don't know what you're saying.
I'll smile and say and then you guys can laugh and be like, we just dissed him, but he don't even know because it's words that he ain't used to.
That's it, 100%. No, it's true. I think I think growing up home, Odie's, like, it's a superpower. Like, you get to learn so much that you don't even realize you're learning. Like, you can build the ability to say, I can literally show up in any room and I'm good. Like, I can show up in any room and be able to navigate whatever they throw at me because I've been in every room. Like, I don't care. And I've seen literally it all. And because I've seen it all, a rejection letter means nothing to me. Oh, you rejected me? Cool. I could be dead. So like, what's the spectrum here? Like my spectrum on a bad day is way worse than like 95% of the people that I work with on a regular basis. So it's like, okay, Ross, I'm stressed. And I'm like, why are you stressed? Because I have 2 emails that I need to send. And I'm like, okay.
Could be worse.
It could be a lot worse than this. So it takes a lot to even stress me out. And I think that's probably trauma. I might need to talk to a therapist about that. But like, it takes a lot to stress me out. And I think it's because I've seen a lot. And I've seen a lot of stuff where I'm like, okay, I lost an account or a project that's worth sometimes $100K, a lot of money. Let me not react. Let me respond to this. I'm not going to freak out and lose my mind, because I could also have literally had instances where I died. Like there's it's a different spectrum, right? Like I think having the perspective that these things are so small in the grand scheme gives you literally an advantage in business. And that's why I try to encourage so many people from the community to get into the game. Because the game, which I call it, business is the game, you can win. You can do so much. Like you're a living example of it, right? Like you know the game, you're playing the game, you're winning, you're e-commerce, you're selling to people all over the world. Like that's the game. And when people see that, they should be thinking, I can replicate that. You don't have to go start a clothing brand. Maybe you're going to start a water company. Maybe you're going to go start something else. Like,
and I think it's important for us, as you as a mentor, me as a mentor, it's to give the game that we have to them and not look at them as competition. Because for me, it's like, I give you all the game, but you have to do the work.
Exactly.
And then for you, give them the game, they got to do the work. So for me, it's not me like creating competition for myself. I never look at it like that. It's like, I'll give you all the information that I have so that you can grow and build. And if you succeed, it just confirms the information that I have.
It's a recipe.
Same with all of the mentors that I get information from. It allows me to succeed, and my success is their success.
100%.
Like I look at them like, if not for you, then I wouldn't have been able to do that. Thank you so much. You know, if I didn't have you, I'd have to learn on my own. But then learning on my own, I'm able to teach somebody else. And 100%. I feel like that's so crucial. But people get caught up in the, I'm creating competition for myself, or it's a if you win, then I can't win.
It's because people don't realize how big the pie is.
And I always look at it like Pepsi needs Coke.
Right.
Yeah.
Like all those gas stations that are on the corners, they need each other.
100%. 100%. I think it's like the mindset needs to be that there's enough room for everyone to eat. And I do believe that. 100%. I think like there's enough for everyone to eat. There's people who are my close friends who have gone off and they've started marketing agencies. Cool. Are they my competition? Not really. We're doing the same thing, but they have their lane, I have my lane. You get paid, I get paid. Cool. If more people hear me talk and they're like, I'm going to start a social media agency that works with e-commerce brands, call me up. I'll show you how to do it. I'll tell you how to do it. Someone's going to do it for health brands. I'll show you how to do it. Like there's so much opportunity in the world that people get caught up in, again, that localization, small-minded thinking where it's like the pie is huge. There are trillions of dollars being exchanged every single year. Some people are happy with 100K. That percentage of $1 trillion is very, very small.
Very small.
So go get it. Get it, right? And it's there for the taking. You just have to be willing to put in the work to do it.
And then often people think like, oh, I'm from Nova Scotia or I'm from North Preston, so like the cap is small on me, but it's like
there's no borders anymore.
100%. Like we're in a globalized economy with 100%. Social media. Like we can connect with people all across the world. We can tap in with Twitter. Like so, for example, you followed all the people that were local. All the local CEOs.
And then I expanded it.
Yes.
Right. So that's where it started. And then I started to follow people outside. And then I started to follow outside. And then from there, I went Canada, cool. US, cool. Brazil, cool. Romania, cool. Now it's like global leads, prospects, conversations that I have with people. So now my community and my network is massive. That's the key. It's like, don't hold yourself to a simple, small, because it's a coin flip. Like you didn't have to be born here. Like you just happened to be born here. Don't hold yourself back to this is your reality and this is my cap.
For me, it could be simple as like when I tell young people about starting a clothing company, I'm from North Preston. Initially, my first clients were going to be obviously the community and my family.
100%.
But you can't market only to your community or black people or, you know what I mean? You have to open it up. Like it's 100% cap because 2% of society, if I start a clothing brand, I'm only going to sell to the black people. 2% of, I have to capture a certain like market
percentage of that 2%.
So it's like, bro, why would I do that when
it's a limit?
And I used to think about this back in high school when my friends were all, or junior high, in high school when my friends were rappers. And I was like, bro, if every single person that is into what you're rapping about buys your album in Nova Scotia, you're getting a low amount of people.
Correct.
You're not in
New York.
Louisiana. You're not in New York. These people have like one block has all the people from North Preston in that one block. In these tall buildings. So when you are a rapper in that city, if all those people in your city buy your album, okay, you can be good.
Canada fits in California.
That's what I'm saying.
In California. Like people don't realize that spectrum. All of Canada, take all the people, you can drop them in California and they still got room. They still got room. Like Canada is small. Canada is great. Don't get me wrong. We got lots of things. The winter suck, but like we got stuff. But like you can't cap yourself, folks. And I think doing the math to understand the like realities of those percentages is super important.
Yeah.
And to the point about the network and like trying to expand for people who are trying to get out, like there's so many resources, and I'm gonna just like drop some on people real quick. If you want to sell a service, you can set up an account on Upwork. And when I say sell a service, it could be I'm going to do video editing. I'm going to be a video editor. I'm going to be a graphic designer. I'm going to be a voiceover actress. I'm going to be a SEO person, a graphic designer. Any type of service that you can do for a business on the computer, you should go to Upwork. You should create a profile and you should sell your services. That's your first taste of global business. And you can start today with that. Make money. You can be 18 years old and start making money and start getting checks.
Yeah, because once you get those 5-star reviews, the more people can see you. Like, cause I don't use that app or that site, but I use Fiverr. Like if I need something on the fly and someone close to me can't do it off the rip, boom, I get them. And then you build up relationships with those individuals, and then you're like, okay, I know this person's good at this, so when I get that job or I need this, I go to them, and then they're a go-to person that could live in Brazil, that could live wherever,
all over the world,
and we could be those people. Like if you're a graphic designer, like you were saying, or you're a voiceover actress, you can go on these sites.
Dude, here's a wild thing. I'm on this site, and I just want to explore. There are people on there charging $25 an hour to watch you play a video game, and they will coach you on how to be better.
No
so
way.
You can go on there and you can be like, look, I'm trying to learn how to be great at Call of Duty. These guys will play with you and they will give you tips on how to be better at the game. So all the gamers out there who are like, I don't have any skills, blah, blah, go coach people on how to game. Oh, you're good at chess? The same thing. There's people who you can like coach people on how to play chess. There's no limits to the ways in which you can make money today, but we all get it caught in these ideas of, oh, I got to do this first. I got a plan. I need to write a business plan. No, you don't. You just got to do things. And Upwork's a great place to go. Fiverr's a great place to go. If you're selling a product, Etsy, eBay, you can you just need, I think a lot of people just need a taste of the first online sale. And it could be literally as simple as, okay, I'm going to go to Walmart and I'm going to buy some stuff. I'm going to list it on eBay and see what happens. You're going to be like, oh, Ross, nothing sold. I didn't sell anything. One day, you're going to get that notification, and something in your brain is going to change. We're going to be like, I just made money, and I didn't do anything. And it's like, cool. Now that mindset is there, start to double down on different ways to monetize and make money. And I believe the internet is the greatest equalizer. So to your point earlier, where you were like, networking, et cetera, difficulties, challenges, there's no question that when you look like us, it's harder to get in. But if you can add so much value through the internet, that you're undeniable, you can't lose. The internet only sees green. And if you can go to the internet with value that helps people make money, you win. People will swipe their credit card. People will buy what you have. And that mindset changes everything. And if you show up every day saying, I'm going to be 10 times as good, cool. You're now going to do 10 times the work. And eventually you will get that break where somebody slides in your DMs in Miami saying, can you jump on a plane and come and speak to us? And that's how it works.
Yeah, I think that's perfect to touch on, because like whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it. You can go on. If Fiverr, from you doing this stuff on Upwork, it's called?
Upwork, Fiverr, they're all the same.
You build your skills while doing the skill that you enjoy doing. So if you enjoy doing it, it's not even work to you. You like, oh, I got a couple orders to do. Let me do it. And then it's like, you get better. And then as you move forward, it's like, I'm building up myself. I'm building up my confidence. So now when maybe a local person or Eastlink hits them up for an opportunity, they can execute, and they already got the experience behind. They got the couple dollars. You know what I mean?
And then some people are thinking, oh, but Trev, I got a job. How am I going to squeeze all this in? You do it on the side. You do it on the side, or your job is probably not that like intense as you think it is, and you do it while you're working. Right? Like I can remember one of my jobs. I was a bottle at the bottle recycling plant with the bin doctor. Shout out to Lopi and Jason. They hired me when I was young, and I was I had a competition with myself saying I'm going to be the fastest bottle counter. So when I would count these bottles, I'd be done, and then I'd go behind the desk and I'd do the cash register, and then it'd be like 30 minutes, an hour before someone showed up. I would go on their computer and I would be researching marketing, studying it, learning about it. How does blogging work? How does SEO work? How do I build a website? So I was learning what I wanted to do on the side while I was doing my job. So what I encourage people to do is like always try to have a side hustle, something on the side that can challenge you in ways that your current job probably isn't. Like if you're working in a retail shop and you've taken care of your customers, they're all good, you've mopped the floors, everything is good. and you've got some downtime, don't go on Instagram and scroll.
Mm-hmm.
Go on your phone and start to research things that will help you grow. Or start sending DMs to people to try to like sell a product or build a product or learn. Like, use your downtime, especially when you're young. Use your downtime to give you the advantages that you want when you're 30 or 40. So like use that time to just educate, learn, grow, build skills. Then you'll be undeniable when you get older. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, 100%. I like that. And then even when you're sending out those DMs, as you continuously build your influence in them spaces, sometimes you're not going to get responses from people. But if you build your influence in those places, like for example, Alex McLean, he's one of my mentors. We can message each other all the time. The value that I get from his mentorship is so much.
Right.
But it's also like he sees the work I'm doing, and his like my success is his success because he gives me certain advice.
Right.
And then for me and him, but early on, maybe I could have DM'd him probably a couple times, but I'm not getting a response because I'm not putting in the work for him to recognize it. So why would he, you know what I mean? Like there's so many people that DM me that I can't get back to, and I didn't realize that when you're running a business that you think you can get back to everybody, but you can't. And then you realize for me now it's like, oh, this person might DM me and be like, oh, can I collaborate with you? And it's like, they're just starting their business. It's like, they're saying, put me on. But the other thing is like, but then if I see them like 6 months from now, a couple years from now, and they're actually building and not just looking for a handle, then I can say, okay, I see you, brother. And I can give them words of affirmation, words of encouragement to say, you know what I mean? Because that gives you that push. And I always, from what you were saying earlier, I always try to do that because what it does is it pushes a young person. And it gives them the fuel to be like, oh, if this person that's successful already is believing in me, then I got to believe in me. And I know I can do it if they know that I can do it.
And for those who do slide in the DMs, like, remember, if you don't get the response that you want, don't take it as rejection. They probably never seen it because they're busy. But two, also think, okay, what do I have to do? View it like a game. What do I have to do to deserve that response? How do I earn a reply back? Okay, they didn't reply. I need to be their biggest fan. I'm going to share their stuff on my story. When they have a deal, I'm going to comment. I'm going to like. I'm going to share. I'm going to be like their cheerleader. I'm going to support it, etc. And then eventually, you might get that response.
Yeah, it's like giving them value before you ask for value. And then another thing that I would say to everybody is like, don't DM me or anybody and be like, can I ask you a question?
Just ask the question.
Just ask the question because what it does is it asks them, can they ask a question? Then they take the time to be like, yes, you can ask me a question. And then they got to get back to it again.
I will never write them back.
No, same, bro. It's hard.
Can you ask me a question?
It's hard because
give me the question already.
You just wasted my time reading.
It's like that text message where they say, can I talk?
There's young people that like I mentor and they'll text me and they'll say, hey, can I ask you a question? I'll be like, next time, don't ever say that. Just ask the question because when I get to it, I'll answer it when I can.
100%.
Definitely.
It's the worst.
And confidence too.
Even your friends like, bro, what do you ask? Like, don't text me and say, how you doing? What you up to?
Just give me the purpose of why you're actually texting.
When I message people, when I need something, I'm asking you what I need. I'm not saying all this, hey, how you doing? And then 5 texts back and forth, and then like we're getting to the chase. Cut to the chase, brother. Because you know, like when your friend hits you up, like you know, some people when they hit you up, you know something's going down.
Can we call? And I'm like, for what?
Right.
For what?
No. 100%.
And it speaks to confidence. You go.
It goes back to the battery you were talking about with the Sims in the game, because if you have a relationship with, like, if Aaliyah calls me and asks me for something, we gotta build enough rapport to where I can say yes. Some people and not to like discredit them or anything. It's just like we don't have enough.
We have no battery.
Rapport. Yeah, we got
that
no
relationship.
We're at 10. We're at 10.
Man, sometimes people will call me to come and speak to engagements or whatever, and it's like there's no value for me. It's just them taking the value from me. But it's they're getting paid to call me to come and get me to do something for free. And then they don't realize, like, if I don't know you from a hole in the ground, the answer that's automatic is a no. Especially if I don't see the value for me. But like people really think like they're giving you opportunity when they're taking your time. Like
time is the most valuable thing any of us have. Like I also think people have to get really comfortable with asking, do you have budget? Like a lot of people are afraid.
And I learned that from our cousin Ty. So my boy Ty. Sorry, I didn't think your name off top. But so Ty taught me a lot about when it comes to people requesting and being confident enough to be like, do you have budget? Like, what's your budget? And I'm not coming for you know what I mean? Because they try to guilt you.
Always.
Me specifically, I only do stuff for community, my community in particularly. But if you have budgets, please don't ask me for much.
You
know, like, but that's how it is. and I didn't know, and I was giving up free time, giving up free, and then it's like these guys taught me as mentors, even though they're my peers. It's like, don't do that, because what it does is for everyone else when they're asking, they'll be like, oh, Trevor came for free, or you know what I mean? But it's like, bro, you guys have budgets. Please don't ask me for free.
Yeah.
And also, I keep like cutting people off.
I'll let you go.
Okay. Relationships are also reciprocal. I feel like is a big thing as well. So like when you're asking someone for something, it's like you need to also think in mind, like, what have I done for them? What in this is beneficial for the both of us? Because sometimes people are just like, people will really strip you of your energy and stuff just to get things that benefit them.
Win-win.
Yeah.
And
so
you got to always think win-win for you when you're asking someone else. Yeah. Because to me, it's not like, oh, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. It's more so like we have rapport. Like, you might not have to do anything ever for me, but if we're friends, I'll show up for you.
So true.
And I think there's like, I know a lot of people are probably hearing us talk and they're like, oh, that's so transactional. Like a lot of what you guys are talking about is transactional relationship. I'm going to do for you, you're going to do for me, trust battery, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, when you think about the most valuable relationships that you have in life, outside of the family and your parents, because they're connected forever, blah, 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 that stuff. But like, let's say it's an organic relationship that was formed. In those relationships, you have shared values, you have shared beliefs, you have shared things that you were trying to accomplish, you're supportive, etc. You want each other to win.
True.
And the reason why the batteries are low at first is because you don't know what that person's motives are. You don't know what they're trying to do.
Yep.
I don't know if you're trying to help me or if you're trying to take from me, if you're trying to learn from me and then you're going to run away. The trust isn't there. So that idea is really meant to say, like, be good to people, add value to people, and then a relationship will form.
Yeah, because it's the worst thing is ever when someone uses you.
I know.
Like they call you, they get you to do something, and then it's just like they use me, like they didn't even really want nothing from me. It's like, and that's why it's important to try to figure out the win-wins or the value for them. And that's why, like, my friends that, like, they'll hit me up and they'll say, oh, come speak to this thing.
Right.
And then I don't even ask for money. I don't even expect money because you're my friend. I'm showing up for you. And then they'd be like, oh, well, here's an honorarium for you. And I'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool because I wasn't expecting that. I didn't need that. But it makes me feel like it's obviously make me feel good because then it shows you they value you.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. I think that's so key. Yeah.
But the trust, I think that's important. That you don't know, and the worst thing ever is to just feel like someone just used you. It's just like them relationships, you know? Like, oh, shit, they just want to use you. Oh, you up?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? It's one of those you up texts, and sometimes they only hit you up because they got no one else to hit up.
Yeah, and then remember, like, at certain levels, as you continue to kind of grow your career and grow, it's like, it's okay to have relationships when someone is going to use you, but they're going to pay you, right? Like, okay.
Use me up, please.
Exactly. It's like,
give me that.
People are going to be like, no, that's not my style. Okay, but let's break it down for a bit. A lot of people will show up every single day for their job and they'll get a check. Cool. The person who's paying that check wants you to do something for them. Whether or not they care about your kids, your life, your stuff, doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you're getting your check and you're doing your service. When it comes to the growth of your business, once in a while, you're going to run into a relationship where someone's going to be like, Trev, I just need you to go and design this for this brand, and I'm going to pay you very handsomely to do it. I just want no drama. Go do it.
Yep.
If it's a win for you, I don't need to care too much about you. I just need you to do the job. You take it or you don't, and then you have a transaction. Some transactional relationships are good. It's okay to have some transactional relationships.
And it builds rapport doing those things. Because I've done those for a couple different companies, and to me, it's like, I don't need my name associated to it. You want this? It's done.
Exactly. And that's a part of the game. It's like you have to figure out what levers are valuable to you, what growth you want, and then continue to, like, diversify and try new things. And that would be the other piece of this that I think is important. It's like, cool. Okay, Ross, you run your marketing company. All that is good. But one of the other things that I've done from a very early age is also embrace the idea of ownership. Owning things is the most valuable thing that anyone in our community can do. And I'm not just talking about owning a home. I'm not talking about owning a car or a chain or any of that. Owning stocks, owning crypto, owning real estate, all of these things, owning a business, a passive income stream, buying a website and letting that website, like, make money. It doesn't have to always be the next $1 million idea. If this thing can pay you $500 a month and you've invested in that, congratulations. You've literally done something that most people don't do.
Yeah, I always look at that as my example. It's like, if you own a few different homes, it's like you have a bunch of these part-time jobs that are paying you on the back end. And if you look at it like that, it's like, if, for example, let's say we all graduated from high school, we worked a job, we bought a home.
Right.
That home is generating us a small income. And then if we say we did that for 5 years and we own 5 homes, we don't necessarily have to work at all.
Exactly.
So that frees up our time because we could have a management company managing those 5 homes that we worked maybe 5, 6, 7 years to own. But now we're free to build and do all the stuff we want to do. And I always look at it like these are little mini part-time jobs, like whatever the small income is. And then it could build up to a full salary, like where you're making 120 grand a year, and then you're still working at your career or your job or whatever 100%. You do.
I think people also get caught up in this idea of, oh, what's my image look like if I'm doing this thing? So especially young people who have the opportunity, they just graduated school. Like, let's say there's 4 best friends. 4 best friends. I hope you share this with your best friends and hear this out. Instead of thinking we all need to move out and have different places because we need our personal space, you can all take all of your money, get a down payment on a spot, have a duplex where you all live in one side and then you rent out the other side. That is the model that you should be applying. Or another situation is, oh, I'm grown now, I got to move out of my parents' house. Okay, I understand the mental part of that, but financially, if you stayed for the whole time that you're in university, you can secure so much money that you are not spending to a landlord that you can put in your pocket, and maybe you actually invest in an ETF that's like a stock or a bond, whatever it might be, and you watch that money grow. And you might give a kickback to your parents because you're grown and you realize
I used to think, like, because coming from the Black community, like a lot of us, like a lot of people I knew, they lived home until they were older. And then I used to think like people from other communities, like, man, your parents don't love you, they charging you rent. But what their parents are teaching them is responsibility. Like if you're gonna live here, you're gonna pay. And when they get out on their own, then they're able to do that on their own. So it's teaching them that responsibility. But like when I was younger, I used to be like, bro, your mother making you pay. But I feel like it's super important to teach that to our youth, but it's also important to, I know there's a guy that came to speak from Toronto. He's a multimillionaire. He lived with his parents in Toronto in a condo. While he lived there from high school, he bought another condo while he still lived with his parents. And then, so he built up like where he owned a bunch of properties. The man ended up starting like this conglomerate of like a big, huge, what do you call it, developing company. And man's developing condos. The man's probably like 34, 35 now, but he's a multimillionaire.
And a lot of people will underestimate that as a blessing. Like if you still live with your parents, say thank you.
Like
legit say thank you.
Thank you, Mama,
because they are legit putting you on.
And so true, especially during like university and things like that. Like for myself, because I get this question all the time from some of like the students around me. They're like, oh, like you're not going to live in residence, you're not going to live near campus, all this other stuff. And I'm like,
for what?
Why not?
Like,
you know what I mean? Like, why do I need to do that? Especially like going through, let's say, med school and stuff. There's expenses that are going to keep racking up. And like the way that I think of it, looking back, I'll be like, you know what? I may be a little bit in debt, but I could have been way more in debt with this and that and that.
And the value of staying home nowadays is way more than if you're out on your own, because especially with the expenses so high and all the homelessness, it's like that's what, like when you say thank you to your parents. Thank you to your parents, because a lot of people, they don't, like people that come from other places and people that don't have big families, they got no place to go. So if you think about yourself, like where are you going to go? Like some people have no place to go, but me, I can go to my grandmother's house. I can go to my aunts and my uncle's house, because like as come from Black community, you got a big family. And if you're, and not everyone's going to take you in if you don't have the battery with them. If they don't trust you, bruh, you ain't even know where I live at. You know what I mean?
100%.
So it's like,
and I think people like, if that's your foundation, I want you to like look ahead and fast forward to like a few different chapters of your life and think what you want those chapters to be like. And one of those chapters could be, okay, I'm going to take all of the savings that I am making and I'm going to invest in my first home that I'm going to own. Cool. First time home buyers, I think it's 5% for your down payment. That's great. Get that. I would argue multiplex, duplex, rent to the other side, that'll cover your mortgage. That's all good. Then do it again, flip and switch. Then by that point, you're probably at that point getting serious with some type of relationship, time to get married, but you already got 4 doors under your belt. So you now have 4 doors that are giving you income. Cool. You can now get whatever mortgage you want. You get another home. Cool. Now you have 2 homes, 4 doors. If you think ahead and you do plan to have kids, you can now teach your kids how to be landlords. You can teach your kids how to be property managers. You can teach your kids how to run a business, and they will grow up with that exposure. Yep. So again, when I think back to my youth and I think about being exposed to paving companies, I had to go to door selling Christmas wreaths in the winter, snotty nose, covered in snow. Hi, do you want to buy a Christmas wreath? Like, I had to do that. And they always brought us down to Colby. I probably seen all these people that I now work with and know. And like, my grandfather made me do that. But those skills that you can pass down to your next generation is, in my opinion, the most important thing that we can do to actually have that generational change. Yep. If we want to see community have generational wealth, it comes from us saying, okay, we're going to lead by example. We're going to be owners. We're going to create value. We're going to add value. We're going to bring in value into our communities. And we're going to do things that are big. And we're going to share our wisdom. We're going to share our ideas. And when we do that, all the boats rise, right? And shout out to Rodney. Rodney preaches this all the time. It's like, this is what we need in the African, like, Nova Scotian community. And I think, like, if we can embrace that mentality and perspective, everybody wins. And the boats, just like, we all rise up.
Yeah, and it's sustainable too. I feel like that mindset is something that is really sustainable. A lot of times we jump to this and that and these type of structures, but we don't realize that what we pass on within our mindsets to, like, children and stuff, it's actually really important to keep that going on.
Yeah, it's
generation.
That's why it's so important to do, like, a mentor that's in, like, that are doctors. It's important to tap in. For me, it's like clothing people. For you, it's marketing people. Yeah. And it's important, if you say you want to buy a home or you want to get into real estate, there's no sense in, like, looking at your peers, like your peers, because you're younger than us. Most of them don't own a home. No. So why would you look to them for advice on owning a home? For me, it's like some of my peers are just starting to own multiple homes and stuff like that. And it's like, tap in with them. Or we could go up to the 50-year-olds that already own maybe 10 plus properties. And it's like, okay, how did you do this? What should I do? What are some pitfalls? And it's important to tap into mentors and not look at your peers and be like, oh, I'm trying to compete with my peers and trying to keep up with my peers. Because it don't matter, because none of you, most of you don't really know what you're doing. Like, when you're thinking about you're all on the same level, it's going to the people that are higher up. And getting that, and higher up, I just mean, like, higher up with the information, because they have the experience.
And also,
you have to stay humble. Go for it.
And tapping into mentors, I feel like also, I know you mentioned, like, the doctor and, like, fashion and things, but also in different areas too is one thing I'm kind of learning as well right now. Like, we had this conversation before we started the podcast where I was speaking to, like, financial literacy and things that I want to kind of grow and learn a lot of, because when I think of, like, being a doctor, it's one where I might get some information from a doctor, but at the same time, like, maybe tapping into Ross, he might have something else different to say about something I've never even thought about. Because I know for myself, I want to make sure that I don't get in that situation where I graduate and everything's going good, and then boom, I don't even know how to handle whatever income that I'm making, right? So it's like different ways you can tap
100%. And that's why it's important to have a network, or, like, say your spouse has, like, financial background where they can help you with the finances. And, like, because it takes the burden of, okay, you're a doctor, you learn that stuff. He does this and learns that. 100%. And then together as a team, we're a merger, we're a company together, and we're building it up.
100%. That's why me and my wife, like, she's a goat when it comes to numbers. Like, she's on another level, like, physics degree, like, genius.
Shout out.
But, like, shout out to Chris. But, like, that's it. You need to take your partner seriously as well. Like, find a partner and take that process seriously, because it's arguably the most, if you do go down that path and you get married, blah, 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 like, that's the most important decision you're going to make in a long, long time. So,
and that's why people often talk about, like, the partners you are in business are similar to, like, your spouse.
Oh, 100%.
Where you're going to have arguments, you're going to have, butt heads. You might not, but then it's like working well with the person and then figuring it out. Because, like, me and, so I got Trev Clothing, and then my boy from day one, Ernie. And he, since day one, like, there's people that be like, oh, I'll show up, I'll do this, I'll show up and do that. And then it was me always by myself. But he lived in Toronto, so when he moved back, it was like I could depend on him. The trust with him, the battery's on 100%.
It's 100%.
Because when I needed somebody, he came through. So it's like, you my partner. Like, I don't even got to put it on paper, because and the trust level so much there, so that he don't even it don't need to be on paper, because we're locked in.
Right, 100%. Yeah, you need those relationships. You got to find the people that you can trust. And what I always tell people is, like, if you feel like your network's not that yet, ask yourself how you can make it that. And what I mean by that is, I have in my groups, like, I have intentionally created, like, group chats where we're going to talk about stocks and investments, and I'll be like, oh, we were at the party, you were talking about stocks, you're now in this group chat. And I'm going to share when I'm buying this, when I'm buying that, and I expect the same. So, like, you can create, like, people don't realize you create your life. And if you can say, all right, in my network, I really wish I had people who are talking more about health, send out a massive text message that says to all of your group, hey, folks, this year I'm dedicating my life to health. I want to start a group chat where we hold each other accountable to doing push-ups every day. Or going for a run every day. All you need to do is take a screenshot of your phone showing that you got 2,000 steps in, and then share that in this group chat. And when you do that, you might get 2 or 3 people who are down. Accountability. And when you have that, you're now going to meet up and talk about it. You're going to talk about, hey, did you happen to follow this runner on Instagram? Check out this account. Again, your brain starts to go in a different way. Same thing with investing. Like, you can create a Facebook group, and everyone always thinks, oh, well, you need to be rich to be starting in investing. No. I started investing when I had like $500. You take that and you try to grow it, you try to grow it, you try to grow it. You lose some, you win some, blah, blah, blah. Start it with $500 or $200. Some people might say 500 is too much. Take $100. Find some stocks that are less than $100. Rare these days, but you might find a few. And then be like, all right, let's track this. The lessons that you're going to learn in that moment, the lessons that you're going to learn in that moment are going to translate into ridiculous value down the road.
I like that.
That is the biggest piece. Like, people don't realize how much value comes from just doing things that are outside of your comfort zone that you don't know anything about. And when you bring other people into that with you, the value's crazy.
Yeah, and it's like bringing people in that you trust too, because you can have some people that come into a group that could sabotage a group, but it's important to connect like-minded, trustworthy people into the group that you know, okay.
You got to remember, it's okay to kick people out of your circle. Like, if somebody continues to bring you down, and when you show up around them, they are massively toxic, it's okay to start to move away.
So
there's a lot of people who get stuck in this thing. Man, we've been boys since the early days. I'm ride or die. But it's leading towards the die more than the ride. So I'm out, right? And you don't even have to say it. Like, people don't realize you don't have to say, I'm ending this relationship. Stop right now.
You ghost
just
them,
a
like
little, space it out a little bit.
You got to. I think that's another thing that holds a lot of people back. People need to reflect on your network and think like, okay, let me look at my phone and think about the last 10 people that you've texted. Here's another project for people who are listening. Go to your phone and look at the last 10 people that you text. And if the last people that you text are not people who add value to your life, that have helped you get better in the last 24 months in some way, got the wrong people.
So true.
100%.
That's it.
Like, and I like to look at it like that too, where it's like you feel bad because you're like, it's your friend, or you grew up with them, or you could be your brother. Me, I look at it like, see ya family reunion. Love you from a distance. And I don't got to talk to you every day. Like, if you need like me for a problem, but if every day is a problem, no.
Everybody has their own journey too, right? So like, okay, if your journey is currently at a point where it's toxic and it's brutal and it's rough and it's messy, cool. I might try to help you get through that. You should. If it's a good friend, you should. But then at the same time, if it's constantly a dragging me down thing, then here's my perspective on it all. I'm going to space away. You're still going to see me. You're still going to be able to reflect. You can even sit on the platform that I'm on. But I'm going up. And as I go up, hopefully, through osmosis, you're going to consume some of the things I say. You're going to see my behaviors, and you're going to go on your journey and see I can change too. And when that happens, hopefully, those people that you might have built some space with, that you feel like you might have lost touch with, will still see the inspiration. And they'll come with you on that journey, and they'll continue to grow. Some people won't. Some people will never rise with you. That's okay. That's their path. That's their choice. That's their journey. Do not feel obligated to help everybody. You have to take care of yourself, then your own, and then from there, you let others who are ready to take control of their own life
come up with
you. Don't let people drag you down. That's a big thing.
I think that's important. And the analogy could be like, it's a balloon that you're on, and you can't, if the people don't have their own balloon or they don't have their own esteem to like push up with you, they usually pulling you down with them.
100%.
And for me, I'm always like, obviously I don't want to leave my friends behind, but there's some people that you have to leave behind, and then when you get to your next level, they'll recognize and be like, okay, actually I do got to get my ish together, and then I'll elevate. Sometimes they pass you, and then you're inspired by them, and
that's a win too. That's a win too. If they pass you, that's great.
100%. You got to find that inspiration, right?
Yeah, and seeing other people win too is really a win as well. Like you were saying, it kind of ties back to what we were talking about earlier in wanting to not see people as competition, but wanting to elevate the people around you. So I feel like, definitely wanting to surround yourself with like-minded individuals, and also diverse-minded individuals as well, but in a like-minded way, because like you want to have those people that challenge your thoughts, but in a positive way, because you are who you really surround yourself with. I know that saying goes around and it's kind of thrown around loosely, but it really is. And the people that you surround yourself with motivate you or can demotivate you on the path that you're.
Yeah, I think you should always be okay changing your mind about subjects.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay. And I try to embrace the idea that I have to challenge everything.
Yeah.
Everything that I've ever believed, I want it to be challenged.
Yeah.
So I can have one or two things are going to happen. Either I'm going to get more conviction around how I can believe that what I believed was right, or I'm going to learn something new. So we should always embrace the idea of learning things that challenge our own perspectives and be okay with changing our minds. It's something that you should do.
Yeah. Changing your mind is a big one, because we actually, in one of my classes, we had like this, it was an activity, and basically you would go one side and the other side, two different perspectives. Right. And if the other side made you think more about the other side, then you had to switch to that side and change your perspective. Right. And I asked the teacher, I said, it's a great example of an activity, but would we have actually done that without the directions to admit that, oh, maybe the way I was thinking was not the right way after hearing someone else's perspective. So it's really important.
Something that you changed your mind about recently?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like the trajectory of school is probably a big one for myself. Like next year, I'm technically going to be taking a gap year before medical school. And at first I was kind of looking at it like, like that 4-year, 8-year, 12-year type of thing. But I'm like, embrace it, because I'm like, realistically, when I think about things, I used to think, oh, it has to be this way. It doesn't. Right. Everyone has like a different trajectory that can go up and down, or it can go straight for some people. Yep. And that's why I think these conversations are important, because it kind of reminds me that idea that you have coming out of high school, sometimes university and all these things, it's not directly the way that life is. Even life in general is going to go. I feel like it also reminded me of that, where I'm like, oh, I could be headed for family medicine, and boom, next thing you know, I'm designing clothes or something, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Drawing art.
Yeah, no, definitely.
You changed your mind on anything lately?
Lately, not that I can think of off top, but like the struggle of changing your mind. Like for me, going to law school and then being like, oh, this isn't for me. That's like a midlife crisis for me. Like, I went through this whole journey to get here, and I know I don't want it. And then it's like I got to tell the people like, ain't doing it. But for me, it's like I had something else that I wanted more than that, and so I pursued that. So then for me, it's like changing you got to be open to change your mind, and you got to be open to like I feel like that's why expert mentors are so crucial, because they can help you when you got the trust in them, and they're not going to lead you in the wrong direction. It helps you make so much, make better decisions so easily.
It's a cheat code, right? Like I think having, and everybody's going to slide in your DMs and say, can you be my mentor? Yeah. So I want to clarify for folks, like mentorship doesn't happen that way. Yeah. Like there's mentorship comes from, again, the value exchange, adding value, being worth talking to and coaching and things like that. But there's also mentorship that can come from actually never even meeting someone, right? Like you can follow Trev and subscribe to every YouTube video, watch everything online that you've ever done, and he's your mentor. Congratulations, because you put out that content. So you can mentor people that you don't even know. And I would encourage people to go find people who have done what they want and have publicly created content and told stories online, and just plug in, right? Like listen to every single podcast that person ever recorded if you want to be on a podcast.
You're downloading their personality, you're downloading their experience. And like when we were talking about Dr. Huberman before this, it's like I watch those videos because I want to learn the stuff he talks about. Right. And then for anybody that like the mentors that I follow or the people that aren't from here, New York designers, LA designers, people in Dubai, you can download their information from YouTube because there's content everywhere. Like I love that you touched on like the biographies of the great people, because those people humanize their experience and let you know like, hey, I can be like this person or I can do the things that they have done.
Yeah, I love biographies for that exact reason. It's like you can study the path that these great people have had and learn from their exact experiences. And sometimes their failures, their lessons cost way more than what you're willing to spend. So you can learn a lot from learning from their lessons, but you have to be okay with taking the time out of your day to say, I can't game anymore because I need to focus on myself. I can't watch every ball game because the season has hundreds of games. I can't do that. I have to shift. And that's a big part of it as well. You have to realize that there are sacrifices that you have to make if you want excellence. If you want to achieve things that average people do not achieve, you have to do things that average people do not do. And average people watch, I think, 7.2 hours of TV every single week. That's a lot of time. If you believe that you have an hourly rate that's worth How much is your time worth? Okay, let's say that you believe that your time is worth $100. You think that's how good you are. 7 times 100 is $700 if you watch TV for 56, 52 weeks. That's a lot of money that you've spent watching TV. So you have to do that type of math. I believe it's very important to understand where you are spending your time. If your time is not being spent on things that give you ROI, return on investment, you're making a mistake. You have to monitor your time allocation and ensure that you're making good decisions. I watched every ball game growing up. I did every single night. Me and my dad, we would watch it. I watched Survivor. I watched Big Brother. I watched all the shows. I played a lot of games. And the moment that my life actually changed is when I said, I can't watch basketball anymore. I can only watch football because it's only on Sundays and it's only a short season, but that will be a good enough for me experience to consume sports because I love it. And I'm going to watch that. That's going to be my game. No more ball. Cool. No more baseball. Home run derby, I'll watch it. It's gotten bad. It's not as good as it used to be. Shout out to the steroid days. Those were the best days. Yeah, exactly. But like, I had to cut that stuff out. If you don't cut out the things that essentially are just for entertainment and increase the things that will help you grow, you're going to stay the same. And a lot of people are like, oh, but what about your self-care, blah, blah, blah. You still have time for all that. You still have time for that because that's also growth. You're growing when you go to the gym. You're growing when you meditate. You're growing when you go to yoga. You're growing when you run. All those things are growth. But what's not growth is when you're just sitting there in front of a TV on the couch eating Doritos, which is filled with toxins, and you're consuming that. You're drinking a beer. What are you doing? Right?
Like, or you're scrolling at the same time.
You're scrolling at the same time. Don't get me wrong again. Sometimes you can do that. It's fine. I'm not saying be this perfect over-optimized person.
In moderation.
But I'm saying, folks, like, try to do it more once you've made it. Once you've taken care of your stuff, once you've got enough in the bank to chill, once you have the ability to do whatever you want, your life is happy, you're happy, then do those things. But way too many people waste time.
It's like the entertainment. It's like our lives become entertainment. Everything is entertainment. You're not learning. You're not growing. You're not. If your whole day you go to work and then everything else is just entertainment. It's like, how do you really think you're gonna get out of that job that you might not like?
And if you're partying every weekend, what you celebrating?
That's what I'm saying. So
what are you celebrating? What
quality time too. Like I feel like
it's a privilege to be able to watch TV all day.
It is.
Like there's people that are homeless that can't sit on their grandmother's couch and watch TV all day and eat grandmother's food. You know what I mean? That's a privilege. So you got to recognize if you don't want to do that forever, you got to get out of that rut and learn and grow, and then you can, you know what I mean, be the grandfather that has kids that can do that, but then you can still teach them to not do that.
He's so right about the celebrating all the time too, because it's like you kind of even lose value in some of these things that you're indulging in all the time as well. It's like, what, like he said, what are you celebrating?
You want to know what also was a very powerful moment? I'm at the club, having a good time, listening to this track, and it's like 25 sitting on 25 mil, and I'm like, I'm 25, I'm out of here. This man's got 25 mil, I'm out. When I heard that, I left the club.
Truffle butter.
I went home, opened up my laptop, and started to work.
Doing the work,
I literally left the club.
That's wild.
That is, it's crazy.
The fact I know the song too is killing me right now.
It's like, that was a real moment for me. I was like, and then I listened. I was like, I'm out of this place. What are we doing?
And that's the
what
thing.
Are we celebrating, y'all?
The value exchange, like the value exchange. When you recognize, like, because it's like, to me, going to the club and drinking and doing that stuff is following the crowd. Versus like, to me, like, I enjoy connecting with people. I enjoy growing with people. So like, I'll stop by the Paradise. I'll say what's up and do that. But it comes a point where the value exchange is invaluable because all you're doing is partying and drinking, waking up with a hangover. When if you don't do that, you get way more done. You wake up earlier. And if you're just following the crowd, like, to me, I genuinely don't care about drinking. I genuinely don't care. Like, I care about the people, but I don't care about the act of like, oh, let's go to the party. If it's your birthday, let me know.
100%.
Pop by, give you a gift.
That's one of my rules. Birthdays, I'm here.
I'll be there for you.
I got rules. But it's like every weekend. For what? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? Celebrating what? Like, I get it. Don't get me wrong. When you're young, you're trying to probably find your partner and stuff like that. I think there's other places you can go and you find higher quality. But at the end
they
of the
do
day,
say where you find that person that you're looking to pursue, it can speak a lot to that person as well. So like even that's
you better find them on LinkedIn.
Go to the library.
There you go. Go to the library. It's true. It's real. But it's like, I think a lot of people need to spend more time thinking about what they do with their time.
Yeah.
Because it's easy. It's so easy because it's all created to be addictive. I get it, folks. TikTok, super addictive. You scroll through one video, you're gone for 30 minutes, and you're like, what did I just do? You don't even remember the videos that you saw, right?
You got to protect yourself.
You got to protect yourself, right? Like you have to be able to look at one thing I do often is I look at my calendar. I live by my calendar, and Anna, my assistant, was communicating with you folks. I take my time very, very seriously.
Yeah.
And we have systems in place that ensure that if I'm doing something, it's mapped out towards like my priorities for the year. I told Anna, my team, at the beginning of the year, these are the things that I want to do. This is how much time I'm going to give back. This is how much time I'm going to do with community. This is how much time I'm going to allocate there. Let's do it. Let's go get after this.
So tough.
Yeah.
This is how much time I'm going to do with travel. This is as much travel as I'm going to do because I don't want to spend that much time away from my kids or they're coming with me. Like I plan all of that in advance because my time is the most valuable thing that I have.
Yeah.
And it's the only thing in life that we can't get back. We can get back money. I can spend $1,000 today, $20,000 today. I can get money back.
Yeah.
Not really that worried about it. But when it comes to my time, never will I get it back.
True.
And you, as someone who's like 21, are time millionaire. Like you have so much time.
Yeah.
Do not waste it.
Yeah.
Like when you have that much time, anyone will exchange. I would give $250,000 right now if I could be your age.
Crazy.
Wow.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I'd probably give $500K to be your age.
I give all my money in the world.
Literally. I probably.
And I get it back somehow.
I don't think I'm giving away all of it. I ain't that old. But like I would give it all away.
I ain't that old. You ain't even old at all, brother.
I know.
You got to double back at 80.
But 250, I'm gone. Like to be at that age because you can do so much with time. Time is so valuable. And another concept that I just need one person to research, and if they research this and they understand it well, that'll change their life, is compound interest. Compound interest is the most valuable thing in the world, and it's not even taught well in schools. But if you take $500 today, you put it in the stock market, everybody's like, it's only $500. Yeah, it's $500 in 2024. But by 2044, that $500 will be $20K. Because the market, since the beginning of time, has gone up. And everybody's like, oh, Ross, and I will say, like, this is not financial advice. I don't want any accountants or lawyers suing me or something. But like, the market doesn't lose. It's never lose. Capitalism wins. It has always won.
Dip, but it's always going up.
Exactly. It has always won. So put it in, ride the wave, and watch what happens. My advice would be to always be in, like constantly. Just set it up on auto repeat, drop in some money, $25 if you can, $25 a month.
That's what I got for my godson. I got a student IRS, like an education savings plan, and it's like, I think it's like $6,000 now, and I only put $25 in there. I think I only put $25 a month in there, but it's I think it's appreciated like 25%.
It's wild.
Yeah.
How old are they?
He's 12 now.
See, this is what I'm seeing. That's the stuff that, like, even just him learning that from you is going to have a massive impact, hopefully. On his life.
Crazy thing is, when he was 8, when the pandemic was happening, I would pick him up and we would read Rich Dad, Poor Dad for teens. He was only 8 years old, and Robert Kiyosaki, in the book, he started his journey when he was 8. So then he read the book, and then when he went to class, after we finished reading the book, he went up and got up and said, I'm Elijah, I'm going to teach you guys about financial literacy.
I love it.
And then he even told the kids, he's like, if you guys are broke in the future, living in your grandmother's basement, don't say I didn't tell you. So. And this is when he was like 9 or 10, bro. And I'm just like,
that's good.
But that's what we need. Like, that's what people need.
100%. Because those tools, like for me, I'm always thinking like, what tools could I have used if I was his age when I was younger that can make me be who I am now? And for him, it's like, he got all the tools, or he's getting all the tools. I'm not saying I'm perfect or I'm giving him all the perfect stuff, but he's getting what I can give, what I feel like is necessary. And financial literacy is so crucial because if you get the finances down, whatever career path or whatever you end up pursuing, you can succeed because you don't have to think about the money.
100%. Like back in the day, I bought my goddaughter one Ethereum. I was like, I'm going to get her one. This is your gift. That's done well for her.
Yeah,
right?
but
like,
right now
like,
that one Ethereum's worth $5,300.
Yeah,
right now,
exactly.
Today.
So it's like you, and she's going to know about crypto just because that's happening.
Wow.
And it's like you need to just, and again, like people will be like, okay, $5,300, buy bonk or something, like buy something cheap. I don't care what you buy.
How old is she now? How old is she?
She is 7.
Oh, so when she was born, you got on Ethereum?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, you got that in the hundreds.
I know. I've been in for a long time.
Lord, bro. So when she probably graduates high school, Ethereum could be like, I'm not even gonna put a word on it, but
I know.
Like that's crazy.
Yeah. But like that decision is rooted in exploration, right? Like I only understood crypto because I was curious to learn about this thing. That thing right now is, again, still crypto. Crypto is still very big and important. But AI, in my opinion, is something that every single person in the world should be thinking about and studying and learning. Yeah. It is going to fundamentally change all of our lives in a way that nobody even understands. Yeah. Some people understand, but no one really gets it. There are so many things that lawyers do that will be replaced by AI, that doctors do that will be replaced by AI, radiologists, oncologists, you name it. So many factors that are truly highly valuable tasks that were considered white-collar work are going to evaporate because of artificial intelligence. And because of this technology, and some people just stopped watching the video because they're like, oh, AI, here we go. I'm telling you,
that's so true.
There is nothing in the world that is going to have the level of impact as AI will have on us in our lifetime.
100%, I agree with you.
Yeah.
When I saw social media blow up and I jumped on that bandwagon, it paid really well.
Yeah.
I'm telling the world with confidence. And we can fast forward in 10 years and watch the same video. And I guarantee you that there will be more millionaires and billionaires created on the back of this tech than anything in a very long time. The flip side is that there's going to be a lot of jobless loss. There's going to be a lot of issues. There's going to be a lot of chaos because of this technology as well. Yeah. And people need to focus on this because it's going to change everything. It already 100%.
is. There's two things that like a guy I was following, he said that can like make you massively successful or whatever, and it's media and tech. So like for me, like I never really, like I was into playing video games growing up, but I never got in the back end of the coding and stuff like that. And I think kids are learning about that stuff in school now because that's the wave, like tech and understanding how to code and do that stuff. You're able to see the back end of like all the stuff that we do. And then with media, like no one can really take your personality from you. And you're obviously they're gonna have laws and stuff for IP of yourself. So that no one can use AI to steal you and make content from you. And so you're going to be able to have yourself, but that's why it's important to build up personalities online. So like for all of us, it's important for us to execute on creating content for online because it's going to be two, not easy ways, but two ways that you could have fun building and enjoy is media through content and then through, if you're into coding and stuff like that, tech.
And to give numbers to it, because I really love when people can hear the numbers. I have a friend who creates content online, and he charges $40,000 to give a 1-hour presentation.
Wow.
1 hour.
$40K, that's like
40K.
People, like parents I know, salary.
100%. And like, that is the power of media. Wow. So a lot of young people who are thinking, okay, should I start this YouTube account? Yeah, you should. You really should. And maybe you don't get any subscribers. Maybe you don't get any likes. It's okay. The lessons that you learn in the next 2 years, creating this side project where you're trying to learn about video editing, where you're learning about how to write a YouTube description, when you're trying to figure out a thumbnail, those skills are going to be ridiculously valuable. And over time, if you do it consistently enough, you might hit goals and you actually are able to do some ridiculous things with your
And the other value in that is when you do the stuff yourself, you learn how to edit, you learn how to do the stuff. When someone else is doing the editing for you, you know if they're doing a good job or not. You know like how to hire you. Like there's like videographers and editors and people that do stuff, and I could gauge through my experience of like what's on the better end and what's on the worse end, and you're able to, like, if you're building a media company, hire the right people. So
exactly.
That firsthand experience, because I did YouTube like a little bit and I explored it, but it just, if it's not for you, it's not for you. But knowing how to edit, then you know how to edit, and then you say, okay, either I could be an editor or I know who to hire.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, definitely. It gives you so many skills. 100%. Yeah, it's wild. I think a lot of people get intimidated by the idea of even just like being out there, but then you combine that with faceless videos and faceless content today, like the opportunities are absolutely
you just got to bite the bullet. When I did YouTube stuff and I went out in the world with the YouTube, it was like that fear of like if you're going to talk to a girl or whatever,
right?
It's the same thing, but you got the camera. For me, I used it as like a motivation. I want to be successful. I want this to work, so I'm gonna try it.
Right.
And then I would go interview random people at Dell. I'd do all kinds of different stuff, and that exposure gets you comfortable with doing it, and it makes you better.
So fear holds everyone back. Like fear is the biggest thing that limits people from their potential, and the fear isn't the failure. The fear is what other people think.
Yeah.
Most time, people are afraid of being judged.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to launch a YouTube channel. You don't actually care if the YouTube channel doesn't get a lot of subscribers. You care about the fact that your friends might go to the channel and see you got 0 subscribers.
Like, oh, cringe or this and that. And
exactly. That's what people are afraid of. But when you can get over that fear of judgment, life changes. So I encourage people to think like, all right, how much does their opinion actually matter? 0. You can't pay bills with opinions.
Yeah.
Think about when I did Trevor's life lessons. At first, like my friends would laugh and joke and make it like a joke. And then at first I was like, okay, it's a joke. But I'm going to keep doing it. And then I'm getting messages from people like, oh, thank you. Like, it's really helped me, like private messages. And then what those little things do is keep me pushing. It's not the friends that laugh at you or they don't see you like that, because your friends can limit you. Their opinion of who you are can limit you to think like, oh, I'm like, if say you're the clown in the group and then they limit you by thinking you're the clown, and then you start to think you're the clown. So then you act like a clown, but you don't have to be the clown. When you decide like, okay, I'm not going to be the clown, like I'm going to still laugh with you guys, but I'm not the clown, and you guys are going to take me serious because I'm going to be serious. And then that's when stuff starts to get serious for you.
When it changes everything. I remember the same situation happened to me. It was like, all right, my Facebook account at first, originally, nobody's on Facebook anymore. Like all the youngins are now on all the other stuff. But like I was on Facebook, and we were sharing all the, like, whatever we were doing on the weekend in university. That was what Facebook was. And then I started to create content on my blog, writing about marketing, and I would share it on my Facebook. And people would be like, what? Are you sharing business stuff on Facebook? And then I just kept doing it. I would get trolled. I would get laughed at. Comments would be weird. Like, people would be like, what is this, Ross? Blah, blah, blah. But I kept doing it. And eventually, what happened was simple. There was a key moment where I went from the old Ross to the new Ross. And the new Ross was all in on business. And when you went to my account, that was what you were going to read. You weren't going to be sharing anything on my account that wasn't what I wanted to have there. It was all going to be business. And by doing that, I was able to get through the trolling, get through the comments, the messages, and just persist. Because like you, I had a vision on what I wanted to be and where I wanted to go, and nobody was going to stop me from getting there. And over time, here's the thing that's crazy. The people who troll, the people who joke, forget that they even joked. They forget that they trolled. They forget that they doted you. They forget that they believed you. They forget all of that.
They become a fan.
They become a fan. They ask you if you're hiring. They ask you if you're hiring. You get their resume, right? Like, it's wild. But when you realize that, you realize like, okay, if you're getting haters, you're getting comments, you're going in the right direction. And honestly, if you don't have anyone who's like hating or like throwing shade or like doesn't feel like it, you ain't doing enough.
You got to do more.
You ain't doing enough. Like, try to encourage the idea of getting feedback from the world. Otherwise, probably just you're staying neutral.
And you need to get that feedback because it's crucial to you moving forward.
100%. You got to do it. It's so key.
So usually when we wind down, we do our one-word checkout, and I'll let Aaliyah tell you what our one-word checkout is.
And before even the one-word checkout, I want to make sure that you touched on everything that you wanted to touch on. So was there any last comments or advice that you wanted to give to the audience?
Go to rossimmonds.com, subscribe to my newsletter. And my advice, no, I think we covered it all. This was great. Thank you both. This has been a lot of fun. Hope people got some value.
I'm so glad you came. I'm so glad that we got to connect. I got to ask you certain questions. It was a great time. And I'm sure you'll be back on. We'll see where this goes in the future. If I'm still the host or whoever, she'll be the host with the mostest.
Oh, Trevor, please.
I like it.
But yeah, so the one word checkout, it's something that we do here at One North End at the A&S Lab. And basically, it's one word that describes how this podcast episode may have made you feel, how you've been feeling throughout the week, and just kind of give a description of why you chose that one word.
I will do mine after you two do yours.
All right.
Okay, and I'll do mine after you.
Oh, wow, you guys are crazy. They put me on the spot, but I'm going to embrace the opportunity. I think mine really is going to be current. I feel like staying current, but at the same time being ahead of the 8 ball. My biggest takeaway from the conversation with you, I'm going to do some of these challenges when I get home. I know I am definitely going to be doing that.
Cool.
But also at the age that I am too, it's kind of looking like, okay, like I need to start this stuff now.
Right.
Like I feel like I never really, before this conversation, I didn't really deep how like quote unquote behind I kind of am in my mindset of like, oh, I should be going further and setting that instead of 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I should be planning that stuff. So staying current, but also being ahead of the 8 ball.
Cool.
Yeah, I like that. So for me, it would be, you keep saying cool, and I think cool is mine because cool as in like you are cool. Like everything that you do can be cool. You just got to believe in your cool versus trying to be cool with everybody else and trying to be what everyone else's idea of cool is. I think it's important for us to embrace our cool because our individuality is what's going to make us cool, not what we think other people want from us or trying to fit in and be cool. That's not even cool.
Right.
It's gathering all of the stuff that you're into and then like letting that come out of you and be cool.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to cheat. I've got 2.
Hyphenate it.
Yeah. Lessons is one. And it's because like, I think for me, everyone gets caught up in the idea of failure, but they're all lessons. Every problem, every struggle can be a lesson. Everything that goes bad can be a lesson. That's the first piece. And then the second is inspired, because I'm inspired by the work that you guys are doing for the community. I'm inspired by the stories that you're telling. The work that you folks do is inspiring. And I'm inspired about like the impact that both of you have had and are going to continue to have in the community for years to come. So I'm inspired.
Likewise, brother. I appreciate your lessons. You know, I'm always getting your lessons on Twitter. And, you know, where else can people find you, like, in terms of, like, I know I'm connected with you on Twitter.
I'm on Instagram. You can find me. I got 2 accounts on Instagram, Ross Simmonds IG, but also The Coolest Cool. I'm also on Facebook. I don't really use Facebook, so I wouldn't check me out there. But LinkedIn, I'm on all the platforms.
Your TikTok, you must be
I'm on TikTok. I'm on TikTok. Like, I'm on YouTube.
Looking at whatever the next platform will be, you're going to be on there.
I'll be there. 100%. Yeah, I'm on all the things. Look me up. I'm easy to find. Ross Simmonds.
And AI is going to be the next thing. What about so like I know we're at the end, but like decentralized social media, decentralized. Are you tapped in with any of that stuff?
I've been following it. I think at the end of the day, though, like the major platforms are going to continue to be able to acquire whatever they want,
have a stronghold,
and they're going to have a stronghold on a lot of the things. I think the decentralization happens on things like Reddit already organically, in Discord channels and things like that, and that's just a natural way of humans collaborating with other like-minded humans. I think that's going to always happen, and that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll get it in.
No,
I like
for sure.
it. But yeah, thank you guys both for having me. This has been great.
You.
Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you, brother.
Perfect.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for tuning in. You guys already know what to do. You got to subscribe. Don't just like and comment. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Check us out on social media, Instagram, and other podcast platforms.
And drop your one-word checkout, hashtag whatever it is.
And thanks for tuning in. Be ready for the next one. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to our Feature Friday podcast. And just wanted to make sure that you guys are connected on all platforms. So wherever you're tuning in, maybe even leave us a 5-star review.
If you're watching on YouTube, hit like and subscribe.
And on our social medias as well, you can follow us at ANS Lab or at African Nova Scotian Youth Lab as well on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We got the whole mumble jumble. It'll be in our link tree in our bio.
Don't forget to enter our contest that we have in each episode.
And the way to enter that contest will be sprinkled throughout our episodes, so make sure that you're listening and paying attention.
Each episode may be different, but comment below wherever you are, Instagram or YouTube.
And if you don't use social media and you're one of those people, you can even reach out to us by email at anslab@onenorthend.com.
The details are in the episode description.
And last but not least, we want to make sure that we get you guys connected to our resource, our network of resources, the Grapevine newsletters. So to get subscribed, you can check the link in our bio and subscribe yourself. But if you're not that tech savvy, you can also email us at anslab@onenorthend.com and we can get you hooked up.
We'll see you on the next episode.
See you next month.
Let's get it.
Feature Friday. Friday.
What's your favorite thing about Fridays?
That's a good question.
The features.